Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And colleagues, I realize I stand literally between you and dinner. I have pulled out several pages of my speech. I will be quick. I am launching this inquiry on funding new news media in Canada. Colleagues, there's a real crisis in Canadian news media, and this inquiry is about the long-term funding of news media across Canada, public, private, and non-profit. And it builds on the inquiry that I launched in the previous Parliament on the future of CBC Radio-Canada. Je remercie sincèrement nos collègues qui ont pris.
I sincerely thank our colleagues who spoke at this inquiry. Senators Forêt, Bernard, Miville-Deschênes, Mention, Duncan, McCallum, Gerba, Klein, and Aucoin. We heard many valuable points of view, which made an important contribution to the wider public debate about the CBC, Radio-Canada.
I did not get to close the inquiry due to prorogation, but I issued a summary report which is available on my website, senatorcardozo.ca. The main elements of my summation are the following. Presentations talked about the need for a strong belief in the need for the continuation and growth of CBC Radio-Canada, the importance of maintaining strong English and French programming, especially French across the country, the need for the public broadcaster to constantly innovate and adjust to the rapidly changing technology of media, the need for a strong focus on diversity in all its forms so as to reflect Canada, the need for drastically increased local programming, better international news coverage, and the need for better reflection of political and social diversity in the programming of CBC Radio-Canada. I also want to salute the work of the Senate Committee on Transport and Communications, which began a study last year tightly focused on local programming at CBC Radio-Canada. I want to compliment my colleagues, Senators Hay and Wilson, and other members of the steering committee, Senators Smith, Dasco, and Lewis, for making the plan to complete the study this fall. It is very timely and will add considerably to the national debate. The committee heard from 59 witnesses last year and received a lot of thoughtful commentary on a range of viewpoints. What I want to do today is to launch a wider discussion, to widen the scope of the discussion and look for options for the financial model for news media in the years ahead, the long term. Aujourd'hui, nous élargissons le champ.
Today is to widen the scope of the discussion and look for options for the financial model for news media in the coming years. Apart from CBC Radio-Canada, most traditional media, newspapers, radio and television, as well as many online publications, benefit from public support, direct subsidies, or tax credits. This model, naturally, has its supporters and its detractors.
In saying that a major reason for this discussion now is that two political parties in the last election, the Conservative Party and the People's Party, promised to end all or most of the federal funding for the public broadcaster and the private sector media. These parties have raised serious issues with serious reservations which deserve a serious conversation. The key point that is made, and I actually don't disagree with it, is that an independent media should not be getting public funds. But here's the conundrum. If today we end all subsidies, we end all public and independent media in Canada. So that is the conundrum I ask you to participate and have a discussion on. In my view, we urgently need a debate and need fresh ideas on how news media, both public and private, can best thrive and serve the public good. So the following are the four issues that I encourage you to address, among any others that you see are as important. Number one, the option for a viable long-term funding model for Canadian news media that can garner support and trust of Canadians. One idea is to have one idea has been to have all funding of the media go through an independent body at arm's length from the government. The new Canadian Journalism Collective, which oversees the Google money subsequent to Bill C-11, is one of those options. And you will recall that when Minister Stephen Guilbeault was here last week, I asked him a question about that, and he referred to this model as being an option. I would suggest that it go beyond the Google money and that any public money that goes to news media, private and nonprofit media, go through this arm's length body. That is one of the issues up for discussion. Issue number 2, the role and future of CBC Radio Canada as one part of a wider news media ecosystem. You'll know that the corporation was established by Conservative Prime Minister R.B. Bennett in 1936 to counter the onslaught of American broadcasting that could wipe out Canadian culture and identity. The challenge today, ironically and sadly, is the same in content, but much more drastic in volume and speed. Issue number 3, the current state and future potential of the emerging online-only news media ecosystems. Numerous new online news media are emerging. Examples are The Hub, The Tyee, The Narwhal, The Halifax Examiner, National News Watch, Press Progress, and Livewire. This is certainly where the brightest hope lies in the future of news media in Canada, and indeed many other parts of the world. At present, most are small or even boutique, but many are ensuring high standards of fair journalism and deserve our respect for their determination and innovation. Issue number 4, the effects on democracy of the reducing presence and standards of news media. We currently have a situation where an increasing number of cities, towns, and communities have no coverage of local municipal councils, local businesses, schools, and sports. Indeed, that's even the case in many large cities where a newspaper may just cover 1 or 2 issues when city councils are dealing with a large number of issues. And indeed, here in the Senate, we see very, very little coverage of what happens in the Senate. With the growing power of social media, misinformation and disinformation online, the growing misuse of artificial intelligence, and the ability of bad actors to manipulate democracy, these problems are growing by leaps and bounds and need our attention. So the 4 questions again: a viable long-term financial model for all media, the role of CBC Radio Canada, the emerging online media, and the effects on democracy. En conclusion,
in conclusion, and to sum up, this survey aims to identify options for a long-term financial model for Canada's news media, whether run by the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, or the public service.
Identifying options for a long-term financial model for news media in Canada. Many Canadians I've been speaking with over the past few months believe the following: that the largely nonpartisan nature of the Senate offers Canadians the best venue to have a discussion, relatively free of partisan consideration, but rather to focus on the future of news media in a way that is good for Canada, Canadian democracy, and the Canadian people. Colleagues, I invite you to be part of this discussion in the weeks ahead. Chers collègues, je vous...
Colleagues, I invite you to be part of this discussion on these essential aspects of our democracy in the weeks ahead. Thank you.